fellow introduction of the application. I'm very honored. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
To the President, Dr. Donahue, Provost Monica Weaver, Board of Trustees, staff, and students, I am honored and humbled to be a keynote speaker for Black History Month. At this time, I'd like to recognize all of my guests that I invited. Would you please stand? My guests that I invited, please stand. Students only. If you are the first person in your family to attend college, please stand so that we may recognize you and say thank you for accepting the torch. Anyone who is first in their family to attend college, please stand. Remain standing, please. Remain standing. Remain standing. Remain standing. I am honored to see you standing here today. Because of our generation and because of who you are, you accepted the torch that will continue to strive for excellence. And I and we wish you the very best. Thank you. The theme for Black History Month is passing the torch. We are honoring our past while celebrating the present and looking forward to the future. Why is Black history important? Black history is important because of the blood, sweat, and tears of those who passed the torch to the next generation for them to realize their potential. Each generation of Black youth needs to know their past to understand the struggle and sacrifice Blacks endured to overcome racism, segregation, and bigotry. Today, our youth is looking for leaders who would accept the responsibility to guide and pass the torch in the 21st century. The appreciation of Black History Month is important because of what it represents. Representing a culture that rises because of contributions of individuals, each success is a bridge that other Blacks can cross to contribute to the betterment of the United States and the world. I am where I am because of the bridges that I cross. I stand before you to share my journey. I grew up in South Carolina during the mid-60s, where the turbulence of civil rights and violence and riots was taking place throughout the South. As a young man, born Black, poor, and uneducated in the South, raised by a foster mother who was illiterate, who could not read nor write, took upon herself to raise 13 disadvantaged children who was left at her doorsteps. I being one and being the oldest male child. Poverty was a natural for us because of where I lived and what I had to do to survive. On weekends, on Fridays, I would take time out of school and go pick cotton so that I could buy eggs and bacon to have breakfast on Sunday mornings at my home. I repeat, I would go out and pick cotton on Fridays and Saturdays so that I could have bacon and eggs on Sunday morning. I was the oldest male child, so it happened to be the oldest male child. I was the man of the house, responsible to ensure that my siblings, my sisters and brothers had a quality of life within the confines of how we live, but making sure that I took care of them. I was subjected to racism from day one. During the period of Jim Crow, I lived under Jim Crow. I had to be confined under the laws, the conditions that restricted me as an African American. I could not go into restaurants. I could not drink from water fountains. I could not go to restrooms. I could not sit in public places. That was a forbidden requirement for African Americans and those who considered to be less greater than prohibit African Americans from taking part of equal justice. I was suppressed. I was angry, but I was also trying to understand why the society took it upon itself to move African Americans from the country, from the community that we once built. How so? Because of the conditions that Jim Crow implied. It resonated in the South, and during that time in South Carolina, between 1930 and 1960, there were 26 blacks that was lynched in South Carolina. 26. And during that turbulent time in my hometown of South Carolina, there was a sign that says, when you came across state line in North Carolina, the sign says, "Welcome to Klan Country." Welcome to Klan Country was a symbol. That was the symbol that resonated in my mind even today. Even today, with recognizing how far I've come, that how conditions I lived in, and how conditions that I had to succumb as an African American, really restricted me of becoming the man, of thinking that I could become the man that I am today. I had to fight and struggle each and every day of my life as a young man because I was black, poor, and uneducated. My foster mother, who could not read nor write, was able to raise 13 children on her sweat, her back, and her drive. She did domestic work. She was a maid. She ironed clothes for white folks. She washed their clothes. She took care of their children while she brought home some bread and some food for us, supplement our clothes. I never knew what it was to wear new clothes. I always had hand-me-downs. And as a young man in the South, we only got one pair of shoes a year. And during that year, if my shoes were out, and they did, I would sometimes take cardboard or newspapers and put them in the bottom of my shoes so that my feet would not touch the ground. Let me repeat what I just said. I only got one pair of shoes during the year. And during that time, if my soles wore out, I had to take cardboard or newspapers and put them in my shoes so that my feet would not touch the ground. I barely knew conditions other than we were all poor in my neighborhood. We all struggled. We all had to wrestle from day to day. We all had to live under the conditions of what we were given and how we were given it. 1965, May the 7th, 1965, in Selma, Alabama. Bloody Sunday took place. Now, we was watching it on television at my neighbor's house. We saw the condition that was exploded in Selma, Alabama. Didn't understand why, but we saw what took place. The horses, the batons, the smoke, gas, smoke, the fumes that was taking place on children who was running, adults who was being beaten. And I could not understand why African Americans, or blacks, at that time, were being used as a tool as to trump them from preventing them to vote in Alabama. Fast forward in South Carolina, I began to wrestle with my own internal values as who I was. And I began to think about my own conditions and where I wanted to go and how would I get there. My concern is the fact that I lived in a community that was divided by race, and the railroad track ensured that you stood on one side and not cross on the other. Education was the worst in South Carolina. White students on the other side of the track got new books. Black kids on my side of the street got used books that they sent to us after they had used them. So the books were written in by white kids, but were N-word, different comments that they knew that we would eventually get the books. I wanted to know why was I being treated differently. There was a local Dairy Queen in Lincoln, South Carolina, which most of the kids would go to get their Sunday ice cream. That was our treat. And on this particular Sunday afternoon, there was a water fountain that says colored. There's a water fountain that says white. And as kids as we were saying, what's the difference between colored water and white water? How could I distinguish between the two? I did not know the difference, but I was challenging the status quo to find out that if I was to live in Lancaster under those conditions, I was going to do something about it. I drank from the white water fountain and was arrested by the local police department in Lincoln, South Carolina, who came to me and to the youth that I was with saying, you could not drink from the water fountain. Can't you read the sign? Don't you know that this is the law of the land of South Carolina? I decided that I was going to take charge of my own destiny. In doing so, I talked to my mother, and I informed her that I was going to emigrate to school in South Carolina. In 1965, I became the first African American to integrate an all-white high school under turbulence, under conditions I don't want to share with you because it makes me angry to talk about what I had to endure as a young man who trying to be equal. The Klan burned a cross in my yard in order to intimidate me and say, don't come back to the school anymore. Stayed out for 4 weeks. Went back. Graduated in 1967 at the bottom of my class. The bottom of my class. Being on the 8th or 9th grade level, had a speech impediment. Conditions was poor in the South. Had nowhere to escape other than the battle where I lied and where I would continue to stay if I believed in the system that South Carolina adopted for African Americans at that time. I volunteered for the United States Army to escape one plantation and go to another. I volunteered so I could get 3 meals and a cot, so I have a place to eat and a place to sleep, and possibly get a job at the same time and be compensated for it. That was reality for many blacks and poor in the South, but there was no jobs. Unknown to me that all I wanted was to be a soldier. All I wanted to do was be the best soldier in America. That I can wear the uniform as a soldier and represent my country. But that was not true. In Vietnam, there were race riots that broke out between blacks and whites. There was conditions unknown to me that racism even existed in the military. I came home from Vietnam in 1970 with my jump boots on, my uniform on, my medals on my chest, proud that I served my country in Vietnam and could not get a job. Disrespected. There was no yellow ribbons, there was no welcome home signs, there was no congratulations, there was no band playing. None of that took place when I came home from Vietnam. They dumped us on the street and told us to go back to where we came from and act like nothing never happened. Well, it did. For 3 years of my life, I put it on the line for the United States of America. I became homeless for 3.5 years, from pillar to post, living in corners, in houses, where I could find a place to sleep, where I could find a place to eat, whatever I could do to survive. Moving forward, pulling yourself up by your bookstrings, realizing that your potential is not controlled by those outside of the realm. You have to control your own destiny. So I set out believing that I had opportunities that would be afforded to me. I changed my attitude, increased my altitude, and began to realize that my potential was not going to be limited because of how I was perceived, or how I was seen by those who did not respect me or did not want me to be a part of the system. So I chose, and realizing that my potential, if my potential was going to be a reality, was to achieve a college education. That was my foundation. That was my step to heaven. That was my gateway to escape what I experienced in South Carolina as an African American. And throughout the years, I built a company second to none, African American owned, that exceeded all expectations, including becoming the first African American to renovate the Statue of Liberty. The first African American to renovate the Statue of Liberty. I think it speaks volume because of not only that I was able to do that, but because of relationships, because of my integrity, because of my drive and motivation, my sincerity and cooperation, and believing that I have something to offer. Not for someone to give me anything, but demonstrate that I have the skill sets and the means that have been afforded to me as a young man to set out and say, the course of time has been changed, and I'm going to change it. I came here to Mercer County Community College in 2006 to begin my degree, to receive a degree in social science here, in architectural science here. What I did not understand was that was a long life dream that I always wanted to have a 4-year college education. That was something that was bigger than I, but it was there in front of me. So I removed all the barriers, I sat down to everybody that I knew and said, how can you help me get a college education? And they said to me, how bad do you want it? And I said, bad. I want this degree because this is something that my foster mother, who said to me, you can do better than I. She could not read nor write. And I was inspired because of her motivation to inspire me to be the person that I am today. So I took upon this attitude that I was not going to put barriers, excuses, limitations, or all those issues out there to limit me for what I could become, what I could become. So I stand before you as an African American, truly, who came through the ranks of civil rights, came through the ranks of subjugation, Jim Crow, where I am today because of determination, drive, and motivation. The ideal that I see the world as a better place. I see you as different. I also see you as a part of the solution to where I am today, but you helped me get here. You inspired me. And I think because of the fact that education is a driving factor and a force to all of us, it will make us better in terms of how we see each other and how we communicate in the world. In closing, the late Nelson Mandela, quote, education is the most powerful weapon which can be used and should to change the world. Thank you very much. My journey has not just ended here, but throughout my career, having been invited to the White House twice, met with President Obama and Vice President Joe Biden. I was invited to sit on a task force to discuss the disparity between African Americans and other contractors in terms of getting federal contracts. I engaged myself in civic responsibilities. I believe that giving back to the community is a part of my duty, the concern that I want to ensure that the community is better because of what I can do. I serve on the board of the Mercer County Chamber of Commerce, Mercer County Community College Foundation, United Way, Flint Board of Education, and most important to me, most to my heart, is 100 Black Men of America, which is the arm to uplift our young black men in our community and begin to change the dynamics so they will not be shocked by policemen in the city because of the fact that they got their pants down or they're looking somewhat disenchanted because they don't know what to do. I am responsible because the baton and the torch has been passed to me, and now I want to ensure that it's passed to you as young people, because it is your obligation to continue to keep the torch lit and to prove and to carry and to progress and to determine and change the attitude of America, because we are all in this ship together. There's not one ship or two ships, but there's a large ship of people working together to make a difference. And that's truly a commitment that I have undertaken. Life is too short. Life is important. Life has a meaning for an end of how we can solve problems together. And I believe as I stand before you today, I'm a better person in terms of my outcome. I'm a better person in what I believe in, and I'm also a better person that I can take the position to say, we can do better. We can do a whole lot better in order to make this world a better place. Thank you.